Okay, Senate will now come to order. Before we start today, I wanted to quickly go over voting because it is still new to some people. So if you have any questions, comments, or motions, please use the raise hand feature. And when we're actually voting, please use the raise hand feature for in favor, no for opposed, and slower for abstain. You can find all of that in the reactions bottom tab. And just a reminder that since today is being recorded, private messages are made public in the transcript. And another reminder, everyone does need to vote. Members of the public, please do not vote. Proxies, you can vote. And then once we do vote, I'll remove everyone's vote. So don't feel like you have to unclick your reaction or anything like that. Okay, moving on to the land acknowledgement. Since this meeting is being held online, one land acknowledgement can't capture the richness of our distribution across the US and around the world. But since ASG is a body under the University of San Diego, I would like to share the land acknowledgement that is used at USD. And I also invite all of you to consider your own position with regard to the land where you find yourself today. I want to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the traditional and unceded territory of the Kumeyaw Nation. I want to pay respect to the citizens of the Kumeyaw Nation, both past and present, in their continuing relationship to their ancestral lands. Thank you, everyone. The Clerk of Senate will now take roll. And if you are a proxy, when the senator that you are proxying for, his name is called, just say proxy.
Okay, well, hello there, everyone. Happy Thursday. I'm so happy to be back. It's been a long time since we've had our last meeting. So let's begin. Okay, so AJ Armienta. If I don't hear, I'll come back. Okay, and then Alana Del Torre.
Here.
Okay, thank you. She has a proxy. Alexa Andrade.
Here.
Okay, cool. Oh, okay, AJ's in Texas. Oh boy, hope he's okay. Benjamin Tebow.
Here.
Thank you so much. Brooke Powell.
Here.
Thank you. Cecilia Byron.
Here.
Thank you. Daniela Peña.
Here.
Thank you. Elena Cruz.
Here.
Great. Ezra Wheeler.
Here.
Thank you. Fantasy Bias.
Here.
Great. Lauren Fetes.
Here.
Thank you. Madeline Wu.
Here.
Okay. Max Donahoe. I believe Max has a proxy. I believe, okay. Is the proxy here? I think so. Megan Womack. Oh, sorry if I butcher it. Please correct.
Here.
Okay. Mia Soto.
Here.
Okay. Sabrina Mendoza. I'll come back for Sabrina. Sean Kenny.
Here.
Thank you. Thomas Riley.
Here.
Thank you. Tiana Fee.
Here.
Thank you. Okay. Great. And then if anybody else comes in last minute, I'll come back to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ari. First item on today's agenda is approval of the agenda. Are there any motions on the floor? Lauren?
I move to approve today's agenda.
Second.
There is a motion on the floor having been seconded to approve today's agenda. Is there any further discussion? If not, please cast your votes. Can the proxy for Max Donahoe please cast their vote as well? I believe it's Ella. Okay, motion passes. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from February 2nd. Is there any motion? Elena?
I move to approve the minutes from last week's meeting.
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor having been seconded to approve the minutes from February 2nd. Is there any further discussion? If not, please cast your votes. Ezra and proxies, can you please cast your vote? Motion passes. Thank you. Minutes have been approved. Next item on the agenda is a report from Speaker of Senate. So if y'all didn't see, got you, Ezra, thank you for letting me know. So if y'all haven't read my email yet, which I would recommend you doing. Oh, Ceci, do you have a question?
No, sorry.
Okay. I recommend you do. Senators, if you're having any issues with Grubhub credits, please reach out and let your advisor know. We want to make sure that y'all are getting the credits that you deserve. Also, Provost Baker will be attending Senate, not this week, but next week, which is Thursday, February 25th from 2 to 2:30. She's only available from that time. And so she's willing to discuss pass-fail with senators. So please come prepared, talk to your constituents so you have, so you can plead your case to Provost Baker. Also, after, I believe it was the second training, I thought it would be helpful to put together a timeline on what ASG did last semester to push for pass-fail, just to contextualize things for Provost Baker's visit next week and to provide insight into why strategies have moved to the legislative route through a resolution that should be presented to Senate, hopefully relatively soon. And that's something that the academics committee will be taking charge on. But AJ is not here to discuss that today. Also, I'm excited to announce that there's now an online comment form for students that can't make Senate, but they want their voices to still be heard during hearing of the public. So, you know, time permitting, if there are comments or questions from members of the public, then I'll be able to read that out. So please share the IG post that was posted to ASG's Instagram to your social media platforms. And in the email, I also sent a flyer, a promotional flyer. So if you could share that with your networks as well. Next slide, please. Thank you. And then ASG will be hosting a What to Fix forum Tuesday, February 23rd from 2:15 to 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Attendance is mandatory for all ASG branches, including senators, and it will count towards your weekly office hours. And so I'm excited for the forum because it'll be a chance for students to know more about ASG before the elections happen. And for senators, it'll be a good chance to get your name out there before the elections and to also meet your constituents, because I know in this virtual setting, it's been difficult reaching out to students. So to prepare for next week, please reach out to your peers or your constituents on either social media or however you see fit, gathering additional questions, and please place it on the doc, and I hyperlinked that on the email as well as on these slides. And then Black Student Resource Commons did a call for more departments support around Black History Month. So ASG Executive Board decided that moving forward, members of all the ASG branches will be required to attend 3 ASG funded events through the Commons this semester, and those events will be counted towards Senator office hours as well. And that's a good opportunity to see where the money that y'all have approved is going, and also just to meet constituents and your peers. And please make sure that your calendars are updated, because I will be scheduling one-on-ones with y'all in the coming weeks. So please make sure that your calendar is updated as soon as possible. Does anyone have any questions about anything I said or anything in the email? If not, we can move on to reports from committee chairs and coordinators. Since AJ can't be here today, he asked me to give his updates. He said that academics committee is capping off the standards of virtual learning resolution. So hopefully that will be presented to Senate in the coming weeks. And the application period for academic grants ends next Friday, February 26th at 4:00 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
We have no new updates at this time.
Hello, everyone. I don't have like a right now update, but I'm going to be working with Austin Galley and the Mulvaney Center to try and implement their a similar diversity assessment that they did in the Mulvaney Center with our athletics department, as in an attempt to get some increased, I guess, understanding of diversity in the department and hopefully increasing diversity and recruiting policies.
Hello. Sorry I didn't get to updating the points, but there are 2 things that I would like to talk about. First things first, I am writing an initiative that will basically kind of change the way that ASG uses their funds. It'll help us be more sustainable and help set a example or precedent for other areas, other people at USD who want to be more sustainable and mindful when they're purchasing. So just keep that on your radar. And if you would like to learn more about what I'm doing, or if you would like to be a part of this initiative, please let me know. The help is always welcome. And then there's also a sustainability kind of education forum on Blackboard, and it's pretty interesting. I am adding the link below to check it out. It's really well done. It was put together by the sustainability office of sustainability. So yeah, I know you all are busy, but if you have the time to check it out, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Behind the scenes, I'm managing the slides and stuff, so please bear with me and thank you for your patience. First things first, I just want to say that closed captioning is available on Zoom. Thanks to kind of Zoom, I guess, letting us use it now for the freezy. It is turned on as like the hosts have turned it on, but each individual or like each person on Zoom logged in needs to turn it on themselves. Was there a slide before this? Is that okay? I think that
There was one before this, but go one back.
So
I don't think they presented, but you can finish your updates and then we could go back.
I'm so sorry, y'all. These slides, oh my God. I'm used to, like the dual screen. So I'd be like working, but this one screen is, anyways. So anyways, closed captioning is available. Shout out, yay, yay, yay. You have to just turn it on yourself. And so if you go to your like kind of like the options panel where like mute and video is, you can click like the live transcript. You can either get a transcript on the side that's live, or you can do the closed captioning, and you can also like change the subtitles so they can be larger or smaller. So that's a big win. Okay, so the Universal Design Ad Hoc Committee updates. We do have a new advisor. It's Michael Martinez from the DLDRC, which is just very helpful to have that intergenerational collaboration, and from the department itself of accessibility. So I know that we have like office hours / Calendly appointments that you can make, and this is just for myself, like as the chair, but also just as a person. Please feel free to check in with me via my Calendly, or I kind of, I guess, made this thing up called a vent in. If y'all want to come and just vent in my office hours, feel free, whether that's about accessibility concerns or anything related to USD. I am not a licensed therapist, but I definitely am a listening ear, so feel free to check in. Our weekly meetings will be every Tuesday, 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. PST. So if you want to try to make them, or you even want to collaborate, your org or your committee wants to collaborate, feel free to just reach out to me and I will open up that link. But that will be weekly. Even if we don't meet as a committee, I'll still be holding space. And so I will be there. I'm just not only as part of my office hours, but also as like our meeting. I mentioned closed captioning is available. And then I just wanted to not take up too much time on this, but just go into detail on the emphasis about like reaching out to the DLDRC, which is the Disability and Learning Difference Resource Center for virtual and individual accommodations, versus the Universal Design Ad Hoc Committee. So I just wanted to say, give some examples here. So the DLDRC is mainly for, like I said, individual accommodations, or just, like more interpersonal accessibility needs. And then the Universal Design Ad Hoc Committee was mainly initiated from the general scope of like accessibility for the whole campus, and beyond just like physical accessibility and virtual accessibility, but also we talk about intersecting, I guess, issues of like financial accessibility, or even like food access, or like home access. So I just wanted to kind of give some distinctions of what maybe y'all can go to the DLDRC for, and then what Universal Design Committee is mainly focusing on. So let's say for classes you would need closed captioning, or you need an ASL interpreter, or you might need more time for tests or quizzes because you're finding it overwhelming, or maybe you need speech to text subscription services, or like audio books and things like that. That is definitely something for the Disability and Learning Difference Resource Center, so they can help you on that individual basis. In a perfect world, we would have closed captioning and ASL and all of these accommodations being met in every space, but unfortunately it does take a lot of time, energy, and money. So please reach out to them. They have the time, energy, and money for these accommodations, so do not hesitate to ask. I know that some folks have even taken medical leave and because they're scared their accommodations aren't going to be met. So please just ask them, and I can also drop their email in the chat. And then so things for the Universal Design Committee would be like wanting to implement a disability related class on campus, or pedagogy, or focusing on accessibility in all classes at all times, or even increase campus accessibility, like physical accessibility, but also virtual. But physical could look like more accessible parking spaces, automatic door sensors for entrance / exiting buildings. So I know that I've never really like took the time to like, initially I took the time to explain Universal Design Committee and like our goals, but there is a lot of resources on Universal Design Learning. And so I'm gonna try to drop that link in the chat as well. I can't really do it right now, but I'll try to get to that link to you, to everyone as soon as possible. But I just kind of compiled some articles, videos, a bunch of different things where you can learn more about Universal Design Learning, whether it's for your classes or for your workshops or for your student orgs. I don't want to take too much time like going really into depth, but it's a really awesome, I guess, way of learning and that experience. And then at the bottom, I will always have the Google form for accessibility concerns and support needed. This is also kind of just a way to check in about your accessibility concerns. And this could also even be opened up to like technological accessibility. So like we said, closed captioning and stuff like that, but also like Wi-Fi access and different things. So thank you so much. That was definitely long-winded, but I do appreciate y'all for sticking with this committee. We're going to be doing a lot more, but just wanted to clarify some things. And I will go back to the other chairs. So sorry I missed you.
So Alana can't be here today, so I'm gonna give her updates. But basically all that we have for you guys is that we're gonna be doing approval of 6 re-registering orgs. And then the new thing that we have is the buddy program, which is basically a program that we're trying to implement that would pair new orgs and older, more established orgs on campus to kind of create this sort of like mentorship or like this program that would give advice to like pair up orgs with similar interests to create like a more synthesized and like streamlined organization of similar interests. Oh, sorry. And Thomas already drafted that email. So we're just really waiting to hear back to see which orgs are interested.
Hello, everyone. Excuse me, sorry. My update is just that I will be presenting the Stop the Surge resolution later in Senate. Thank you.
Great, thank you to our chairs and coordinators. Next item on the agenda are reports from ASG Exec Board members.
Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a good week. Sorry I wasn't able to update, wasn't able to access the slides, but I have the list right here. So first off, Maya and I were able to meet with the Asian Student Association past Wednesday. Went really well. In terms of next steps for student organizations, we have yet to receive any responses from the around 15 or so other organizations we have contacted. So there's going to be another wave of emails being sent out to student organizations. We're really eager to meet. So if you have any orgs any other orgs that are part of that you feel like would like to meet with members of the ASG Executive Board, please forward the contact info to me. I'd love to reach out. It's my favorite thing to do. I love just meeting with constituents and hearing how we can help. And then tomorrow I'm going to be meeting with Jen and some others to discuss the endowment. So I'll keep you all updated on that. And then I've also, again, reached out to the TWIP meeting with about shower cards, more specifically with Stephanie Lynn. So awaiting that response. Also a response from the Student Athletic Council, so we can meet and continue the work that we've done last semester. And also tomorrow I'm meeting with the Changemaker Hub to provide some updates. And of course, the work with the search for the new VP for Student Affairs is still continuing. So those are my.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all continue to be safe and healthy. I just wanted to provide a couple updates. First, I'll address the contact tracing. So University of San Diego contact tracing did an analysis on where the rise of COVID cases were from, since there was some speculation that on-campus research that was being done led to the rise in cases. The report was there's no knowledge of science labs being a source of the increase. The only known info is that spikes in COVID-19 have come through the residence halls and from off-campus students that live off-campus. So there's just that update. In regards to the last week's announcements on isolations, because of the recent increase, as you all saw, tomorrow or all in-person academic activities will need to move to remote from Monday the 15th until the end of the month. And that is all we have until further notice. Due to this, the medical director suggested that this is the safest way to proceed in short term. In regards to residence hall capacities, Maher is completely full of COVID infected students that have been quarantining. So the situation is very dire. I know that it can be sort of easy to look at things going on, and it's sunny in San Diego right now and it seems like everything is okay, but at least on campus, it's a very tough situation. And there are a lot of students that are sick, and things are being spread thin. And furthermore, off of that, students are currently being relocated if they can't quarantine on campus. That includes off-campus amenities. I know the Marriott in Old Town is being utilized. So resources are being implemented to try to accommodate for all of the spikes in COVID-19. So please continue to stay safe. And if you see anything going wrong, please call it out when appropriate. I believe there is a Senate agenda about sort of calling things out like that later on today. The last thing, this is a recent update, so I wasn't able to get it in on time, but the university is starting a national search for the new vice president for mission integration, since in a previous email, Monsignor Dandilaba will be leaving his position at the end of this academic year. I was assisting with this. However, the next meeting is this Monday from 1 to 2 p.m. and I have class during that time. So if there's any senators or students that are interested in assisting and maybe has time during them to drop in, or if you have experience with the university ministry, please either chat me or reach out to my sandiego.edu, because I believe I can just have a student step in as a proxy. And that is all for me. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So as updates, last week we kicked off our Valentine's Day challenge, and I'm super happy to announce that we had 135 students participate, which is basically like our regular numbers if we were in person. So it's a huge accomplishment for us, and we're really happy. And so they'll have until, it's a virtual challenge that you complete different things with a new partner. And so those will start coming, have already started coming in, and we'll get the final stuff due by the 21st and keep moving forward. And then also, I'm happy to announce that next Wednesday, the 24th at 5:30 Pacific Standard Time, we are having a speaker. She is the former White House Social Secretary for the Obama administration, and her name is Disha Dyers, and she's going to come and speak to students on her experience with imposter syndrome and how you can turn it and how she turned it into self-pride. So I'm really excited for that. And you'll be getting more of the research, and I hope to see y'all all there. And then we are also in the works of having a March speaker come to virtually to campus. So I'm really happy to announce that, and more information will come soon. That's it.
Hi, everyone. So I don't have too many updates this week. The first is specifically relating to the Constitution, but also for really any bylaws that we have. The judicial branch is really going to get into editing the Constitution, making updates where we see fit. And so that'll probably happen start in about 2-3 weeks. And so if you have any ideas of how we should edit the Constitution, adding things, being more specific in different areas, possibly removing some things, please let us know. You can let anyone in the judicial branch know, but in case you don't know anyone else other than me, please feel free to email me. Next, the performance review bylaws, I'm presenting them today. I made, in case you didn't have time to read them, because they're kind of long, I made a nice summary of everything, so we'll get to that later. And then, of course, as I say every week, the judicial branch check and balances. If there's anything you have a question about, anything you think maybe going a little off course from what the bylaws or Constitution says, please feel free to email me at asgchiefjustice@sandiego.edu, and I'll get back to you. So that's all for me. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I don't have any updates, so yeah, thank you.
Hi, everyone. Happy Thursday. So first and foremost, just again, another friendly reminder that if you have any marketing requests, please reach out to us. And then secondly, please share our ASG Instagram post if you can, and share with your networks, just because we would love to spread the message about all of our upcoming events, and we are putting out some new content very soon. And we are having an Empower Hour with Student Support Services, also known as SSS. It'll be on Tuesday, March 2nd from 3 to 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Essentially, we'll just be talking to them about what ASG does, promoting elections, how they can run, and more. If you are interested in being part of it and sharing your experience as a member of ASG, please private message me or you can email me. I'll put my email in the chat. And then lastly, in regards to the 3 ASG funded events that you are all required to go, I'll be posting that on our Instagram stories whenever I can find events. So if you're looking for events, just keep your eye out for the stories on Instagram. And again, if you see any events and you want me to promote it, let me know and I'd be happy to do so. But yeah, that's all I have. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Moving on to new business. The first item on the agenda under new business is a discussion on anonymous COVID violations reporting by Lauren and Dean Minnick, the Assistant Dean of Students in the Office of Ethical Development and Restorative Practices. So the floor is yours.
We have an infographic. Is there any chance I can share my screen with it?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. Thanks. Oh, I lost Zoom. Okay. All right, can you guys all see that? Yeah, okay. All right, guys, as you all know, there have been some very concerning spikes in COVID cases and people in quarantine housing in the past few weeks of classes. Senator Ben is going to get into that a little bit more after I'm done with this, but let me drop the link in the chat to it. There is an anonymous COVID violation reporting form. If you follow the steps on the sheet, which I will also drop in the chat when I'm done, you can report any violations of COVID guidelines that you see on or around campus, or if you see students off campus that you know go to USD violating these things, that works as well. It is important that you are as specific as you can be, and that also if you're sharing this with your constituents, you let them know that as well. If you don't have names, if there isn't evidence of these violations, then the conduct office can't really do anything about it. Can I call on Fantasy, Maya, or do you have to call on her?
I wasn't sure if you wanted to wait till you were done. If you
That was pretty much.
Okay. Fantasy, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I am curious how this works for maybe like people seeing things virtually that are happening. Like if someone's on Snapchat, like a party with USD folks, like how does that work? And I'm sure it's encouraged to report it, but it's not technically physical. And like, as for evidence, are you allowed to like screenshot or like record, like, you know, the like social media aspect of it?
Yeah, I can answer that, and then if Dean Minnick has anything to add, it is not a violation of privacy to screenshot something posted by a student on a social media platform. It's in the terms and service agreement of like anyone who signs up for these social media platforms that if you post that information, like it is out there and you can screenshot it and upload those either screen recordings or screenshots into this reporting system. And yes, Dean Minnick, if you have anything to add to that.
That's great, Lauren. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any other questions about this? I will drop this infographic in the chat so you can repost it on your stories if you want, and I would encourage you to do so. I think we all have a duty right now to report the violations where we see them. I know pretty much all of you are in San Diego. I'm not in San Diego, and I would like to be there. I'd like COVID to go bye-bye. I'd like everyone to adhere to the rules and regulations, especially with the spikes. Yeah, that's all I have to say on that. But please do your parts and don't be afraid to report the violations where you see them. Yep.
Well said. Does anyone have any comments, questions, concerns? Madeline?
Thank you. Just like in the presentation, remembering to be specific and the reporting is important because there have been like select cases where students report somebody and they type in the wrong name. And so we don't want to do that to our students. We want to make sure that we have the facts and that we are absolutely sure that we're reporting correctly. And another part is like, I know it can be deemed as snitching, but it is really in the best interest of protecting other students. That is what it is for. It is not to be punitive. It is because we all want to actually be able to learn on campus and maybe go into the hybrid model, but the rate at which things are going right now, that is not possible.
Thank you, Madeline. I'd love to add to that. The conversations that we have with students when we discuss the fact that there was an anonymous report, we really frame it from the perspective that their peers are concerned for their own safety and for the ability for the community to move forward and to try to move into that hybrid model and hopefully at some point be fully in person. And that those reports are generally coming through because their peers want them to change their behavior to help contribute to hopefully a better future around this. I will also add, because this was a question that Lauren had asked yesterday, just to be really, really clear, this is an opportunity for us to have conversations with students. A lot of when there is a responsible finding, and it's usually more helpful to have some kind of documentation, whether it is a screenshot or a video, or I mean, we've even received people recording other people. When we have that, then we can kind of usually find students responsible. And the vast majority of those students were warning. Unless it's really significant, unless it's clearly a big gathering, or this isn't the first time that we've interacted with a student. In those cases, then we start looking at what other kinds of education can we do and other kind of accountability can we do to help really get their attention. I understand that there may be some rumors out there that we've been kicking people out, and we haven't. It takes a lot to get suspended from the University of San Diego. We really do focus on that education. But clearly, if someone is continuing to disregard or indicates that they don't believe USD has any role in managing this, we're going to do everything we can to work with students in their learning.
Thank you. Anaya?
Hi, Dominic. I have a question specifically for you relating to FSL. I know FSL usually kind of has their own discipline process and whatnot, but from what I've been hearing, I'm not near campus, but it's been rumored that a lot of sororities and fraternities during Rush Week have been having events specifically for their Rush Week, so it's organization linked. Is there has there been many repercussions for them, or are they also getting warnings as orgs?
So we only manage, and thank you for the kind of clarification, we only manage the individual students. And so sometimes there will be reports that will come through that will name some individuals, but also identify an organization. And then my friend DJ, who earlier I saw on here, so maybe he can step in and talk about what's been happening with the organizations. Maybe he's not still on the. And if maybe DJ's not, is Dr. Avery still here? And maybe they had to leave because they have a hearing. I don't know. As I'm scanning through, I'm not seeing. So that's where you're going to need to direct the questions regarding the individual organizations is to Dr. Avery or DJ that they would be able to provide that information. But I do know that they have access to those same anonymous reports.
Jen?
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to follow up with what Dean Minnick was sharing. She's absolutely correct. I think Dr. Avery had to leave for another meeting at 1 o'clock. But I would definitely recommend if you have these types of concerns or things that reports can still be funneled through the anonymous COVID reporting site. And then from there, our FSL area will follow up. If you do have questions on like where things are at, what's being done, kind of like how you invited Dean Minnick, you're also welcome to invite them or reach out to them separately. But I think that that's an absolutely fair question to follow up with specifically with our FSL team.
There are two more things I really want to make sure, since you are a group of people who can help educate your peers, be aware that the ability to do an anonymous report has always existed. Probably not always since the dawn of time, but close. Has existed on public safety's website. And on occasion, we've had reports over the years come through around hazing and maybe a few other things, but seldom did we get reports, anonymous reports. Clearly, because I think it was communicated to students that the ability to do the anonymous COVID reports, we've gotten many. And I think that is an indication of how concerned students are about the behavior of their peers. One of the things that I've always said is my preference is if someone has a concern with the behavior of their peers, that they use their voice and communicate that. If possible, I think that is definitely the more powerful way for that learning to happen. And I want people to understand that we are going to support this process, particularly if people don't feel safe in communicating that, or if they feel unheard. So, definitely if people need to make those anonymous reports, do so. But I really encourage folks to go ahead and communicate their concern directly, if that's possible.
Madeline?
Yeah, to that point, I just would like to know what the best way would be to communicate a concern one-on-one. I think it can be easily misconstrued as being patronizing, and it's hard to convey through text genuine concern. So I would just like to know how the best way to approach that would be.
Yeah. I think it depends on the nature of your relationship. So if it's someone that you have, some casual connection to, whether it's through class or you've been able to interact in other ways, for those of you who are not first-year students, that you've made connections historically, I think to kind of refer to your appreciation for your friendship or your knowledge of them or your connection to them, and just communicate then that either you're surprised or you're concerned, that they're posting what they're posting, or that they're doing what they're doing, and identify how you would hope that they might reconsider that. And I think you can do that through a direct message or a text. I think it's a lot more powerful if you reach out and say, hey, do you have time for a phone call or a FaceTime? Just because the dimension of a voice, and even greater the dimension of a face, is going to have a better impact on that. If it's someone that you don't know at all, or don't know, beyond you've seen them in a class, I think that can be more challenging because they don't have a context of who it's coming from. And so, you know, in those situations, you know, I have seen and appreciate when people kind of put out, you know, I wish everyone was making choices that would help us come together in person, or, you know, I'm sorry to hear that people, you know, that my peers feel like it's okay to gather in ways that aren't safe for them and for our community, you know, to kind of make some of those more general statements, because then you're speaking up to what you believe. And then when you see a peer do that and you haven't done it, but you agree, let the community know. Don't leave people hanging. I think that that's where a lot of the power can be. And honestly, that's going to have a greater impact than, like I said, the conversation. If the peer pressure is to not gather, and that really becomes the perspective that is out there, that's going to have an impact. Thanks, Madeline, for that question.
Thank you, Dean Minnick.
Are there any other questions, comments? Dean Minnick, I know you have to leave soon, but thank you for making time for coming to Senate. It's very much appreciated. And thank you, Lauren.
Thanks all of you for the service that you're giving your peers.
Okay, so moving on to our next agenda item under new business is a discussion on Stop the Surge resolution. Ben, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm not sure if everyone got a chance to look at the document that was sent out in the agenda, but I'm dropping it in the chat right now. If there are any issues opening it, please let me know. But so this is continuing on the same trend as the previous discussion, which is the increase in COVID-19 cases in the campus community. You have to request access. Okay, thank you to the senator who is changing that. I appreciate that. So the Student Life Committee felt that it was important for ASG to sort of come at this with a resolution and a statement to the university and to the campus community regarding the increase in cases and everything. This is specifically because of President Harris's message. We wanted to come out in support of that message and everything that he discussed in that. So the resolution in essence encourages students to follow the university guidelines as well as report any violations of the guidelines, which were just discussed by Dean Minnick. It also explains why we feel that is needed, not just because of the increase in cases, but because of new strains that are going around the country, and the impact that this is having in not just our students, but the community surrounding USD as well, and people who may be marginalized in terms of access to healthcare and benefits if they get sick. So yeah, I'll give everyone some time to read through this, and I'll be happy to answer any questions, comments, or concerns. Am I allowed to call on people, Madam Speaker, or is that still?
I can call on them, Fantasy.
Thank you. I definitely want to just like, I guess, give my appreciation to, you know, like the student body for endorsing and kind of like supporting the whole concern of the campus. Just wanting to point out how it's very important to be proactive as well as reactive. I don't think reactive is a bad thing. I just think it definitely happens and it's okay. And it's okay to acknowledge you know, that like we need to solve the solution. I think we must also acknowledge like what brought the problem. And I feel like just letting students on campus and not many students in general was a very high risk. And I don't know if it was, I don't know if it was the, you know, I don't want to go back, you know, we can't dwell on the past. It happened. Students came to campus and I'm sure they're very grateful. Just as looking through the resolution, though, as we've seen, like students weren't showing up to meetings and students weren't taking it seriously. So it's kind of hard that, you know, we let students on campus and trusted them to maybe make these commitments. And now we're seeing the effects of like that not playing out the way that it was a mutual understanding in the beginning, I'm sure. So I just wanted to say this. I know that I didn't want to like put blame on anyone, and I'm super, you know, like excited that we're being more, I guess, active about it, you know, whether it's proactive or reactive. I just know that some instances as a university, we definitely could not put ourselves into, and I understand, you know, like sometimes the universities, not saying our university only, but sometimes they are looking at numbers and money versus, you know, like ethics and social problems that it may bring. So maybe they wanted students, you know, to have a place to, or play for a place to be in San Diego. And with that being said, like it's just, I don't know, it's hard. So I think we should just look at it very, you know, like definitely very broad, look at a bunch of different things. You know, that's not the university's fault technically, it's not the students, technically all the students' fault. So, but I do think understanding that we really have to put our foot down, or however you want to say, and being proactive about this, not letting things slide, or like, you know, letting more students creep up on campus, but also, you know, giving agency and trust to students. And I think the more we're transparent about being concerned for their, you know, their safety, but and trusting them, I think the more they're maybe going to respect like where we're coming from, instead of being like, well, we let you on campus, we let you live here, and now like you're locked in here. Like I'm sure that wasn't their motive, but it kind of seems now like it's just a lose-lose situation. So I just want to express my appreciation for the concern, and also just like, you know, shout out to the students who are really trying their best and just trying to get that college experience, but also amidst a really complex time. And thank you to everyone else who's being supportive of this and taking it seriously. And thank you to everyone who made the resolution, because that was quick. Like we just got that email and now we're already presenting it. So I'm very proud of you all.
Lauren?
First of all, I think my internet's cutting out a bit, so oh, maybe just cut out right now. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah, okay, never mind. Sorry. One thing I will say is, in agreement with a previous senator, it is a privilege for students to be able to live on campus in this time that we're living in right now. There are not even just like at our university, but there are other universities who just did not open because they understood the extreme risk. And I know that our university made the best decision that they could with the information that they had available. And I appreciate that. But I think there are a lot of students on our campus and in our constituencies right now who are upset about being made to enforce COVID protocols and do not realize what a privilege it is to be in the space that they are right now. That's one thing. And oh no, it was just in my head and now it's gone. I will raise my hand again if I remember.
Joey?
Hello, everyone. So I just felt it was important, since we're on this topic, that to inform you something that I omitted from my updates. Was I did talk to President Harris about many of the concerns that students have, on-campus students have, namely the ones in Pacific Ridge and Carmel. So some of the problems I've heard from students living in the Pacific Ridge Carmel through both USD residency, I guess you would call it, and then students living on their own from USD, was the fact that people are not wearing their masks in Pacific Ridge.
Lauren, you remember what you were going to say yet? Okay. Ben?
They're going to install. Y'all couldn't hear me?
You cut out for like a second. Maybe just go back a couple lines.
All right, so you got that President Harris, after informing President Harris of such violations of COVID protocol at Pacific Ridge, he contacted the head of security at Pacific Ridge, and effective immediately, Pacific Ridge's plan is to install at all exterior access entry signage about COVID mask, installing banners requiring parking in one garage entryways, installing signage at entry driveway by guard booth, a memo to the entire community about COVID and reminder enforcement, a memo to be emailed on a weekly basis to residents, and each Friday, the top reminder will go out to residents about safety protocol. And then for security and safety enforcement, guards are going to remind all drivers about requirements to wear masks in the community upon entry. And this Friday, security management from corporate meetings with Allied Universal Security will be given all units and will document the number of guests going to Friday through Sunday evenings, list to be reviewed on Monday morning by director. If parting happens in specific units, particularly if USD students list to be emailed, list will be emailed to Andre on Monday by USD students management to prepare a 3-day notice of breach. And then security managers will hold weekly risk assessment walks. And then maintenance managers will perform random after hours hallway walks to further identify units that are partying. Partying buses will no longer be allowed to go through gates. I don't know if they were allowed before. And all PR employees will remind residents without masks to wear masks in the community. So those are some updates with regards to that to hope to combat the spread of Pacific.
Lauren?
I remembered as soon as Joey started talking again. So on another point that a previous senator has made, I understand wanting to live college life. We all understand wanting to live college life. And it sucks to get on campus and then being told, oh, you need to stay in your room and not leave campus. But there is a large responsibility for students on campus right now because the university doesn't really have a way of actively enforcing people staying on campus. There's nobody like positioned at gates to stop cars and ask where people are going and things of that nature. So I think there's a big responsibility on campus for our students right now to continue to abide by these guidelines, even if they don't necessarily agree with them, because they're not being enforced otherwise.
Ben?
Yes, along those same lines. And I wanted to thank the president for addressing those changes to what is happening in the Pacific Ridge apartments, because I've heard that it is a concerning place to live right now for those who are respecting COVID guidelines. But to go along the lines of what the previous senator stated, I think there's also a huge responsibility to students living off campus to not host any events and not encourage students to go off campus. I am myself living off campus right now, and it's been hard to see other students living off campus encourage first years or second years who are living on campus to go out and explore San Diego in unsafe manners. So I think it is the responsibility of everyone involved in our campus community to promote safety and wellness above having a good time, because the lives of people are at risk. And in the end, that's what's really important here. So keep the big picture in mind.
Ari?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. I completely agree with all the senators and the statements that they've provided. As one senator had mentioned, it is a very complex time. And as another senator after that pointed that it's also a privilege to be on campus as well. Many of us wish we were on campus. Many of us hope that we can go to campus in the fall. And I think the fact that President Harris has already mentioned that if this continues to prolong, the effects of us as students overall returning to fall might not be plausible. And that's unfortunate to hear because many of us want to have some normality back in our lives. You know, I've definitely noticed that a lot of my peers virtually are getting very tired. I'm starting to feel it too. It didn't occur to me that March is hitting around the corner and that this is going to be a year in a global pandemic. And I know many of, you know, my peers mentioned that I don't think that this will ever, you know, I mean, personally for me, I don't think this will ever be a moment where my brain will process that this is the new norm. I don't think this should be considered a new norm. And with things going on in Pacific Ridge, I definitely say we want to hold students accountable and hold them to a standard that they are keeping themselves safe. Especially with so many new variants coming around the world, especially within California, especially the fact that we still don't know so much about this virus, their health, the public's health, the San Diego area's health. But most of all, I definitely want to say with the pandemic fatigue, just a lot of articles that I even read, people are really starting to hit a point. And I'm feeling it personally too. Like I definitely get wanting to have that college experience. We all want to go back on campus and see our friends and, you know, enjoy and not have to feel like we're in a constant state of anxiety and anxiousness that we can't even see our peers or be near people. I mean, like the ability to hug someone, you know, just that, the ability to hug or see your professors in person in those small conversations. So I definitely want to say if, you know, if students in Pacific Ridge need directions to mental health services and support, I think that's something we can gladly do for them as well. You know, we want to find a balance where we hold them to a—
Sorry, we've reached our allotted time for this agenda item. If anyone would like to make a motion to extend the time, they can do that now.
Lauren?
I move to extend this agenda item by 6 minutes.
There's a motion on the floor having been seconded to extend this line item by 6 minutes. Is there any further discussion? If not, please cast your votes. Motion passes. Ari, you can continue.
Thank you. I always have bad timing with that. That's funny. But yeah, you know, it's one of those things where it's a complex situation. So if we need to offer services to the students in Pacific Ridge, especially, you know, now that students cannot leave the premises of the campus, and I think by all means, I think that's where we can kind of meet them halfway to support them. So yeah, that's all I wanted to briefly mention and wrap up. But you know, it's gonna be a year next month, and it's been a long one, and people are starting to lose motivation. Yeah, thank you so much.
Are there any comments, questions, concerns regarding the resolution? Lauren?
Just the last thing I'll add, if someone happens to make a motion and this resolution does happen to be passed, I understand the conversation that we're having and the things that have been said in the past like 10-ish minutes are not necessarily needed to be said in this space, but need to be spread to our wider community. And I would encourage everyone to continue to spread this message to your constituents and bring it past the point that we are having this conversation here, because it doesn't do any good for all of us who agree with this resolution to have the conversation if nobody else hears it.
Fantasy?
Thank you. Just a quick, I guess, question, and sorry if I went over my head, neither the resolution or the email. But what does this mean for on-campus events that have been planned around like COVID safety precautions? Like, are they not happening? Is that money still going to like COVID precautious events, or is it kind of in like a standby right now since it was pretty abrupt to like stop everything on campus happening? I just know that obviously not normal campus events, but like some COVID safe quote unquote campus events were happening and money was going into that. So just wondering where that's going or what's being done. Thank you.
Go ahead, Ben.
Thank you. Yes, that's a fantastic question because, I mean, obviously it's a huge part of funding that we also allocated, but just campus life in general is events. I think they've changed the name a couple times, so I'm trying. The Core Connect initiative, not entirely sure. I believe it's Residential Life that might manage that. It's, or maybe an overlay of different programs, but there are events that can happen if they follow certain campus protocols. And a concern for some gatherings off campus or on campus that have not been cleared is that they're using this as an excuse. So we mentioned that as a way that these are the only events that can happen on campus. The only gatherings that are allowed are events that do follow these guidelines or have been approved by the university. So there are events that I believe can happen. They just need to follow those guidelines and be approved by the university.
Lupe?
Yeah, as far as for TBB, once we heard everything, everything's kind of just been on a pause, hoping for the best, but also just with everything going on, I'm also just not really, for me, I've just strongly been encouraging to keep it virtual for the time being. But with Core Connect, that totally reminded me. So I'll be sure to follow up. It's not specifically Res Life. It's a bunch of individuals from various departments. I know there's some Campus Rec, some Res Life. They all just came together for that. So I'll be sure to reach out to see if there's any plans for that too.
Sean?
I'd like to move to approve the Stop the Surge resolution.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor, having been seconded to approve the Stop the Surge resolution. Is there any further discussion? If not, please cast your votes. Elena and Ella, can you please cast your votes? Motion passes. The resolution has been approved. Thomas, okay, just making sure. Yay, so next on the agenda is presentation of performance review bylaws. So Anaya, the floor is yours.
Fantasy, can you share the slides from before I put everything up there? Thank you. While Fantasy's putting that up, just kind of some background information. The reason we're updating these bylaws is because with the change from the old constitution to the new, the performance review responsibilities shifted from the executive board to the judicial branch. And so we needed to rewrite that. And also there were some changes regarding just the fairness, I guess you could say, of the bylaws. Thanks, Fancy. The fairness of the bylaws in that, at least how I read them, they were rather biased towards exec. It didn't seem very fair to Senate at all. So what you'll see here, like second bullet here about any member of ASG is eligible to be put under review. That seems very obvious, but there are things like that we specifically stated just to make it explicitly clear that this applies to all 3 branches. And there's a special amendment for TPB. So I'm just going to summarize article by article in case you haven't read it, and then you can ask me questions. So just the first article is basically saying that the judicial branch handles performance review. Anyone in ASG can be put under review. And if a judicial branch member is put under review, exec would handle it. We're a group of 5 people. I think we're naturally just become a close group from that. So to avoid any biases, exec will handle that. And for TPB, because they have their own process in their bylaws, they can follow their performance review from that, but they will check in with the judicial branch. So the judicial branch will ultimately kind of oversee it, but hands-on, it'll be TPB in-house. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the first or the second article is regarding censures. So we define what a censure is, basically just extreme displeasure. And we said that branches can censure. So if Senate votes to censure someone either in Senate or out of Senate, you can do that. And the only individuals who can censure are the heads of the 4 branches. So President, Speaker, TPB Chair, and Chief Justice. We can censure people in our branches or each other so that there's lateral accountability, but also we have some accountability over our own teams. And a majority vote is required, so not 2/3. And if this is, I believe, a new thing from the last one, from the old performance review bylaws, if someone is censured, the judicial branch has the ability to say whether they can or cannot run for an ASG position again. If it's like a severe thing, then we may vote to not allow them to hold ASG office in the future, but that's ultimately up to the branch. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is for the review process. So this is kind of a step up from just a warning, like a censure. And if someone is found, I guess, responsible in the review process, you can be removed, is really the difference. And it's basically kind of major infractions, like if you fail to do your outlined duties, express unprofessional behavior or unprofessional behavior, or misuse or abuse your power. In the actual bylaws themselves, they're a lot more detailed in terms of how you go about filing your petition to put someone under review, but you would submit that to the judicial branch. And there's like a really long, like I think 2-week process, maybe a month-long process actually, of someone going under review and the people they have to meet with and so on and so forth. It's very detailed, but this is kind of just how it goes. And then next slide, please. For immediate review, this is for like super major infractions. The judicial branch has the ability to discharge a member of ASG. It requires a unanimous vote, so I believe everything else is simple majority with the group, but unanimous, so 5 out of 5 is required to remove someone immediately. And that's for everyone but the president. So the president has a slightly different process as they had in the old bylaws as well. So for the president, immediate removal can happen from a vote by the Senate, by exec with a 3/4 majority vote, or by the student body. So they can submit a petition with, I believe it's 500 signatures from students to start a hearing to immediately remove the president. And then that would kind of happen. And for all immediate removals, appeals would be made to the branch that it like didn't originally make the motion to remove. So if Senate were to vote to remove the president, then exec would hear the appeal and kind of vice versa. It's kind of, it can be confusing the way I'm saying it, but in the bylaws, if you scroll down to the very bottom, it's there, it's very clear. But yeah, that was just kind of a brief summary of everything that we did. There were no really strong changes, but I just wanted to highlight everything that you'd be voting on just in case. Yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know. And if not, you can vote on it. It requires a 2/3 majority to pass. So any questions? Any motions? Continue to sit in silence.
Maybe clarifying what a motion would be on.
Oh, sorry. Motion to approve the amendments to the performance review bylaws.
Fantasy?
Hi, sorry, when I was screen sharing, I cannot raise my hand. So if any of y'all, I just want to say if any of y'all want me to go back to a different slide or something to like look at the slides again, please let me know, so then that way you're not like not getting the information.
Sean?
I move to approve the new amendments to the bylaws.
Second.
There is a motion on the floor having been seconded to approve the amendments to the bylaws, the performance review bylaws to be specific. Is there any further discussion? If not, please cast your votes. Proxies, please cast your votes. Elena, please cast your vote. Motion passes. The amendments to performance review bylaws has been approved. Okay, last item under new business is presentation of re-registering student orgs. The floor is yours, Brooke.
So yeah, so we have 6 returning orgs. So I won't go into too much detail about them because I'm sure we all know at least a little bit about most of them. So the first 4 are social fraternities. The first is going to be Pi Kappa Phi. And basically they're structured like a lot of other fraternities and sororities where they have chapter meetings pretty much weekly or bi-weekly, but their mission is to create a lifelong brotherhood and connections for the betterment of our communities. And they do a lot of like collaborations with other USD orgs. And then the next one is Delta Tau Delta. Their mission statement is creating a positive and supportive community within their brotherhood. And they said their 4 pillars were truth, courage, faith, and power. And the other part of their mission statement is teaching excellence and making a difference. They're also structured similarly with chapter meetings with an exec board, and then different classes. Then the next one is going to be Phi Gamma Delta. Their mission is to unite men in enduring friendships and build courageous leaders through core values and community, and also the pursuit of knowledge. And then the last of the social fraternities is going to be Sigma Phi Epsilon. Their mission statement is delivering a premier student experience in one of our most formative times. Through SIGEP, men strengthen their character, build leadership and interpersonal skills, and learn to develop healthy, lifelong relationships that are essential to a successful and fulfilling life. And they also have an exec board, but they did talk about how their exec board is made up of some of the younger members in some of the younger classes and how there are leadership opportunities for those. And then, yeah. So then the next one is going to be the Association of Environmental Professionals, and their mission statement is to help foster relationships between students interested in the environment with local environmental professionals and to help students feel supported in finding environmental careers. So this one, though it is another environmental group, does focus on the professional aspect of environmentalism and does a lot of like networking events, and they are part of a larger national chapter with like very specific connections to environmental professionals because this is just the San Diego chapter of the national org. And then the last one is the new Alpha Kappa fraternity. This one is going to be a multicultural fraternity, and their mission is to provide a space for anybody who feels limited to join frats on campus due to USD being a primarily white institution. And this one's a little bit different than the other social fraternities. They talked about lower dues and a little bit different of a recruitment process. So those are going to be the 6 orgs.
Are there any comments, questions, concerns, or motions regarding these organizations? Lauren?
I move to approve all re-registering and new orgs.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor, having been seconded, to approve all re-registering and new student orgs. Is there any further discussion? Ben, are you raising your hand for discussion? No, okay. Just making sure. If there is no further discussion, please cast your votes. Okay, motion passes. These orgs have been approved. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to final business and hearing of the public. At this time, any senator may take from the table any motion previously laid on the table in the meeting the week before, so February 2nd's meeting, or present urgent business. Any member of the public may voice any concerns to the assembly on non-agenda items. I'm going to lower everyone's hands right now. So if you have to say something, feel free to raise your hand now. Also, to members of the public, now would be a good time to send your email in the chat so we can get you Grubhub credits. Catherine?
Yes, hello. I'm going to try not to take up too much time, but I have a few Copley announcements. We are currently closed to individual study as part of the Stop the Surge, but we're still offering all of our remote reference curbside pickup. So we do have people on site. So folks in San Diego can get their materials that they need, and you can use our chat on the website 24/7. It's just sandiego.edu/library to get the help that you need for classes. We also just launched our 2021 Undergraduate Research Awards. I'm going to put all these links in the chat as well. The Copley Library Undergraduate Research Awards were established to recognize students' exceptional research papers using library resources and services. All the information is on the website, and there's different levels for 100, 200 courses, 300 courses, and 400 courses are independent study. Those are due, the applications are due May 3rd. Also, the library's newly formed Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Access Committee has published a LibGuide with different resources related to diversity and inclusion topics. Some of those are library resources, some are from campus, some are from the world. If you have any thoughts about what you would like to see included on there, the membership list of the committee is included on that LibGuide. Again, the chat, I'll put the link in the chat. You can feel free to contact me or anybody else on the committee with suggestions for that, because it is a work in progress that we're going to keep building on. We also have a ton of workshops, all virtual, all free this semester on a variety of topics. So I'm going to put that link in there. And then finally, the First Generation Action Team is hosting a First Generation Student Success Summit on March 3rd and 4th. We're going to start posting the social media for that hopefully tomorrow. I'm going to put the registration link in the chat if anybody's first gen and interested in attending. We're going to have faculty speakers, fellow students, representatives from all across campus, financial wellness student wellness, the library, STEM faculty, like all over, and it's going to be really great. The goal of it is to engage with faculty and how to navigate USD for first-gen students. So that I think is going to be really fun. That's everything. And here it all is in the chat. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Catherine. Just another reminder, if you're a member of the public and would like GrubHub credit, please put your email in the chat, and that goes for proxies as well. Ari?
Yeah, thank you so much. So a little bit of what I just want to announce is, so last night I had a meeting with Maya and Fantasy just for the Senate lead team and just like a little discussion in terms as to how we can best support senators. As I had mentioned previously before, that the pandemic fatigue is really starting to set in, just the fact that we are coming up to a year now, which still blows my mind every day. And, you know, just from what I've observed and what I've talked to my fellow peers about is that you know, people are getting tired, and especially with senators and the role that everyone plays, you know, that process and reaching out to people can be tiring. So what we want to do as the Senate lead team is how to best support you, and if you can provide any ideas. So what Manda has shared on the screen is just kind of a private Google forum. It's not going to request your emails. It's not going to record them. Oh, well, actually, my bad. I will change that. But essentially what we want to hear from senators is how you're feeling emotionally. This will be private. And in terms of what you would like to see us from the Senate lead team, or just how we can best support you. I definitely say that mental health right now is a top priority. And especially when we're in positions where we have to reach out to many constituents and many people, it can be draining. So what we want to do here is be a support system for you throughout this process. So Manda will hopefully drop the link in the chat, just because my computer is kind of bugging out today. But yeah, please feel free to express how you are. And we just want to know how you were doing on, you know, personally, in terms of how you are, you know, besides the title of being a senator, how are you doing emotionally as a person? Because there's a lot. There's a lot to process every day. And most of all, every emotion that you feel within this complex time is valid. So we want you to know that, and we're going to be here to support you in that process. So thank you.
Thank you, Ari. Val?
Hey everyone, can y'all hear me? Because my Wi-Fi is a little wonky, I don't know. Okay, cool, thank you. I'm also on my phone, so it's hard to see everyone. I'm sorry. Okay, so I have two things. One of them being that we have a committee of Latinx orgs and students who are currently planning to make the best out of our circumstances, of course, in safety, like using all safety precautions, nothing in person, for Latinx grad. And I will put a link in the chat. I'll do that after because I can't multitask. But if you have any friends, or if you want to just like repost it, the link is a Instagram page where we announced where the Google form is to register. Registration closes February 25th, I think, which is next week. So make sure y'all do that as soon as possible. And my second one is, or my second point is more of a concern with the rise of cases on campus. I am personally not on campus. I'm a commuter student, and I also am in different classes and stuff where we've had conversations about how staff and faculty were not notified of the rise in cases within a timely precaution and manner. I know we like talked about resolutions and stuff earlier. I've been in and out, so I wasn't able to like fully hear everything that was said, but I am very much concerned for faculty and staff, especially who are working in Maher. And I'm not sure what is happening, what administration is doing to keep their lives as well, and in addition to students, but I'm definitely concerned and I would like a response if anyone has anything to say. In terms of like senators, I really, really urge you to push and apply pressure to any admins, you know, or any people who might be of influence to this. I think it's really topic because we always talk about like students protection, but I think it's just as important to talk about our faculty and staff, especially custodians and things of that nature and those roles who are really there every day to serve our students as well. So I'm wondering about that. And I felt like I had something else, but you know what? My mind, I just forgot it. So I'm gonna just leave it at that. But yeah, I'm just concerned and wondering. Oh, yes, that was my other point. So as a commuter student as well, like I didn't know about the surge until like the mass email. And I just feel like that's not enough. Like, especially if I were to go to the library, not knowing of the surge in cases and, or like, you know, something of that sort. Or let's say I wanted to go like study outside with my mask on or something, I don't know. But I didn't know until afterwards. I think that's just not okay. So I'm wondering if there's like some kind of like text message system or something where we can get notified right away as opposed to waiting for an email after the fact. So yeah, that's my question and concern.
We reached our time for this agenda item. If anyone would like to make a motion to extend the time, they could do that now.
Sean,
I move to extend the time by 5 minutes.
Second.
there is a motion on the floor having been seconded to extend this line item by 5 minutes. Is there any further discussion? If not, please cast your votes. Okay, motion passes. Madeline, did you have a response to Val? Okay, Madeline, you go first.
Okay. Well, thank you for bringing that up. It is definitely super concerning that, you know, we're putting faculty's lives at risk whenever we, you know, go out and party or make poor decisions. But I do know a little bit about what the staff is doing when they are taking food, to example, like the people in quarantine. The staff that go into Maher or the UTAs have already been vaccinated. So in that regard, they are protected. That was just in response to your answer. I hope that provides some more clarity on the situation.
Thank you, Madeline. Emily, I had you next on stack.
Hi everyone, Emily. I just wanted to provide a quick clarification earlier. I did want to say that for the Core Connect program, that is not currently happening because of the surge. I believe that was in the email that Dr. Godwin sent out. So currently there is no approval for any gatherings, even just the group of 4 people, and then the group of 4 will be reassessed with our numbers and different things like that. And I just dropped a link into the chat with the website that is always updated. And we're actively working on also making sure, like, if you come onto campus and go through the temperature check, that might show like what status of gathering is allowed on campus that day. And again, we're thinking more along down the line when like this is safer to do. So please let us know if you have feedback. I think we really, was listening to everything today and wanting to make sure that that is safe. And I can answer, and Jen also probably can help answer questions around Core Connect. But right now it's party of one, so no gatherings, if that's helpful for everyone.
Lauren?
Also, Val, you asked if there's a texting system. I believe there is. I'm not in California, so I'm not signed up for it, but I can look into that and email you if I figure that one out, or if anybody else knows off the top of their head.
Lupe?
Yes, oops, sorry. So I was just typing it in the chat, but I'll bring it up now too. So I don't know about a specific USD texting system. I know there's California Notify, and it's on the website that Emily just sent, but also I do think a text system would be also awesome for USD. This link right here will take you to updated COVID cases specifically to USD students. So while it's not necessarily like notifying you every time it's rising, it can help you keep track of how many cases are announced each day. So yeah, that hopefully that also helps get a better grasp, since there's not like fairly frequent emails about it. I know that's fairly updated though.
Thank you, Lupe. Lauren?
I move to adjourn today's meeting if there is no further discussion.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor, have been seconded to adjourn today's meeting. I'll be sticking around if anyone has any questions, comments, any of that. So is there any further discussion? If not, please cast your votes. Fantasy, Elena, and Ella, can you please cast your votes? Thank you. Motion passes. The meeting has been adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.